And so we decided that we were going to have things such as sit-ins, where if we were banned from a restaurant or something, we're going to sit down. We might not order anything, or we might order something, but we're going to sit here. And up until you drag us out, beat us out, call the police, and they drag us out, we're going to sit here. And then they had things such as bus boycotts, where back when African Americans were only allowed to sit in the back of the bus, we boycotted the buses so that the buses weren't running, they weren't making money. And so eventually they were forced to be able to let us sit anywhere we wanted. And a big thing that started the bus boycotts was Miss Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat after, you know, she had sat down, long day at work, was tired, her feet hurt, and a white man came and was like, give me that seat. And she just was like, no. And he's like, give me your seat. And she's over here like, no. And that's not exactly how it went on, but I was exaggerating. But she basically refused to give up her seat. And that was a big step for not only African Americans, but women, because we showed that A, you're not going to just boss around as African Americans, and B, you're not going to boss me around just because I'm an African American woman. Does that make me any less than an African American man? Of course not. And so she fought for not only women's rights, but African Americans, and basically that's a big thing that started bus boycotts. And there were also very, very troubling parts of the civil rights movement, such as the lynching of Emmett Till. He supposedly whistled at a white woman in a store, and her husband and brother came, kidnapped Emmett Till, pistol whipped him, gouged out his eyes, and then weighed him down in the Mississippi River and left him there. And then imagine finding your child, their eyes are missing, their body swollen, beat up. Just imagine finding your child like that, and floating in a river, and having to bury your child like that. And a not as commonly known fact, Emmett Till's mother actually chose for him, his funeral, to be an open casket funeral, even though he barely had hair, he had no eyes, his face was swollen. And actually, you can look up the photo, but I warn you, it's very graphic. He actually was the cover of, it was either Time or Life, I think it was Time magazine, and his just disfigured body was on that cover, and that was just a big awakening for us. Like, we are slipping back into what we fought so hard to get away from. And just like, you know, the abolitionists during slavery, people such as Emmett Till's mother, who chose for that magazine cover to be her son's disfigured body, you may not think of it as fighting for civil rights, but she was determined to let people know that this is what they did to my son, and I refuse for it to happen to another child. And people such as Coretta Scott King and Dr. King, the powerful duo, the, you know, wife-husband duo who fought for civil rights up until, well, not up until Martin Luther King's assassination in Memphis, Tennessee by James Earl Ray. And even after, Coretta Scott King still fought for civil rights, and she probably fought like 10 times harder because her husband died for this. And so she's like, I really have to carry on his legacy. And we have people such as Malcolm X, who took a very different approach. Martin Luther King was, you know, less violence, more speaking, more peaceful protesting. Mr. Malcolm X, he was the exact opposite. He was less talking, more violence, and that resulted in his assassination as well by the Nation of Islam, I believe. But that was just, he was involved in a whole lot of stuff, and he angered a whole lot of people. And so we have those sorts of people who are the equivalent of what the abolitionists were to slavery. And in the second segment, I even mentioned Anne Frank during the Holocaust. You may not see it, but even though she was a small teenage girl, she was an abolitionist. She was basically an abolitionist, but for the Holocaust. She was that equivalent, but during the Holocaust, not during slavery. Because by keeping her diary, little did she know that she would give so much insight, and she would be able to teach so many people about what she went through, the hardships she went through, the stuff that she saw and stuff that she experienced, all because of her choice of a religion. And that is crazy. We have people who get prosecuted for murders and, you know, robberies and stuff, but you don't really think about the people who die for the color of their skin, or if they choose to praise God or Buddha or anybody else.
Lana, over the last 2 minutes, let's look at some other civil rights in terms of what is going on today that you might be able to give people your age some instructions in reference to, for example, what happened in Flint, Michigan. What do you think about that? How does that impact upon people?
If you're not familiar with the Flint water crisis, I'll give you a short and basic summary of it. In April of 2014, the governor of Flint, Michigan, Rick Snyder, decided to stop taking water from, I think, Detroit and start taking water from the Flint River. But over the course of 21 months, from April 14 to January 15, people started getting, children started getting this very terrible water poisoning. And if you look at pictures of the water in Flint, it's brown, it's murky, it's disgusting. And these people are being deprived of their right to water, something we bathe in, we drink, we pour out when we don't want the rest, something that we take for granted. These people don't have access to. And for over a year now, these people have been getting lead poisoning from water. Children's faces are being scarred and peeling because they have to bathe in contaminated water. They have to drink contaminated water. Do you know the effects of lead poisoning? It causes vomiting, muscle weakness, seizures, comas. All this happening because their governor chose to switch the water supply. And another thing that I personally find mysterious about the whole situation is that Rick Snyder changed the water supply in April 14, but only up until January 5th of 2016 did he finally declare a state of emergency in Flint. That's a 21-month span. These children have been suffering from lead poisoning, which is deadly, which is, I think, a big reason why they changed pencils from being lead. I think they changed it to mercury, but they don't have a lot of lead pencils anymore. And so,
well, why don't they have lead pencils?
Because children eat the lead and get lead poisoning. You know, they could have developmental issues and just, it could even kill you because from the effects of it, and that's crazy. And these people are subjected to this. They don't even have fresh water. And people are donating water. Celebrities are going to Flint and bringing bottles of water because these people do not have water because their governor is depriving them of water. And a lot of people think that Rick Snyder should be charged with genocide for this.
Thank you, Alana. And of course, let me thank you and let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week to another informative edition of Comments. Thank you
and good morning.